time. Night night. Hey, yo, Shannon, what's up? Squirt, what's up, boys? Yo, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab some grub. I'm gonna go grab me a fucking some rice. How you guys doing tonight? Squirt, my man, if you're free and available, take a toke, eh? Token a little. You already fried, good sir. I respect it. Pork and rice on the way, bro. I just had like a chicken, not chicken. What am I saying? I just had some fish with some like oven roasted broccoli and like green beans. So good. Now I got a little bit of rice here. I'm gonna mow down. Oh, that's all she wrote for that. Get a little bit of rice.
This man just committed mass murder and mercilessly ran over 50 innocent people in a single horrifying rampage.
No, I guess ignore it. Oh, was I don't think I was ignoring chat. I just was in the middle of the game. I didn't have time to read it because I was playing in the middle of the game. But yeah, I didn't really know you were mad.
Who committed this horrifying act, but he managed to flee on foot into a neighborhood.
Sorry.
Little did he know his
for nothing, because I ain't sorry for nothing.
And what would follow
was playing a game.
Is the largest manhunt this town has ever seen.
Put your hands where I can see them. Put your hands.
This guy's ignoring me? No. I was just playing the game, bro. I didn't even realize like
been on the wrong
that it was that long.
Since he was just 17 years old.
No, I'm just that's
really a troubled and disturbed
a narcissist or some shit. I feel that.
Abuse, reckless
Me
endangerment,
too.
and was even registered as a.
Hey, Martha.
But all of this seemed to culminate
Martha.
in 2021.
Am I a narcissist?
The grand return of the Waukesha Christmas parade following the pandemic.
Okay,
Daryl Brooks decided to ruin the lives of countless people as he took his anger out on the Christmas parade in a blind moment of rage. From the hour of 4 p.m. neighbors reported a violent argument coming from Daryl's house. He and his girlfriend weren't on the best of terms and would occasionally explode into fiery rows such as this.
I remember when this shit happened. Actually, I want to watch this. It's fucking stupid. This guy's just retarded. Base game was fucked up. Oh. Get a man. Am I a narcissist?
No, you're an asshole.
No, well, love you too, bitch.
I'd rather be an asshole than a narcissist.
I'd rather be a narcissist.
Passion's a narcissist. You're more of an asshole. But
Yep. Well, appreciate you being honest. Love you too. Never said I didn't. My sister just says I'm a fucking asshole. That's all. No narcissist here. I guess that's some good news for me, right? The Quibble Cop AI. That's hilarious. Play some Mozart? Nah. Ain't about that. About that life right now. Make me sad? Yeah, you sound like my ex-girlfriend. I have no but I didn't say you were. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. That's actually funny as fuck. I am. I had to see you saying that shit so sincere too. I am no vagina. I can't even say it with a straight face. I am no vagina.
Some type of duct tape. Because of the decomposed state of her corpse, it was also a bit difficult to immediately.
That's fucking funny as shit.
She goes, somebody killed her. They found her in the water.
On a warm summer morning on July 24th, 2000, a retired judge had stepped out on his routine stroll to inspect his boat moored in the lagoon behind his home. Little did he know that this peaceful moment would soon be shattered by a grim discovery. As he ambled along the wooden dock, his gaze caught something peculiar floating in the water below. After taking a closer look, his eyes widened with shock as he realized it was the lifeless body of a young woman.
He noticed this really pungent smell, and he followed the scent to the edge of his property and found there was what he thought at first was a dead manatee that had washed up into his backyard. And then he quickly realized, it was shocked to find that it was the body of a young woman.
And it was clear that she'd suffered a horrific end.
Hold up a warm up a bullet grab. Do your thing, dude. Appreciate you, dude.
I got the phone call.
We see a body of a female. As a homicide agent, that's not a good day.
The scene and the evidence found weren't ordinary, but painted a chilling picture far beyond what investigators had initially imagined. What truly transpired with this young woman? Was it merely a senseless act of violence, or were there darker motives at play? When the investigators from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office reached the chilling crime scene, their priority was to recover the body of the woman out of the river.
We tried to get the body processed and out of the water as quick as we could and not lose any more physical evidence than we already had.
We had our dive team out there, and they go down with a body bag into the water and put the body bag up around the body and pull it out to the water's edge. And that body bag is made to wick out the water. The water seeps out of the bag so that everything stays intact.
It was evident that something terrible had happened to her.
The body's in a moderate stage of decomposition, the bloating. It hadn't purged yet, so it was probably twice the size it would normally be.
The woman lay naked in the river with her body prone and vulnerable. But what caught the investigators' attention were the bindings.
When they got to the body, they found out that it was bound, had duct tape on it. At this point, it looks more like a homicide investigation is going to take place.
Her hands and feet were tightly bound with rope and tape. Even more disturbing was the tape covering various parts of her head, her eyes, nose, mouth, and neck. It was as if someone had gone to great lengths to silence her, to erase any chance of her being heard or seen. Around the woman's feet, investigators discovered torn plastic grocery bags secured with rubber tubing. This peculiar sight fueled their determination to uncover the identity of the victim and the perpetrator behind this gruesome act.
When you have a name, at least you can do some victimology. You need to start looking at that person. What can you find out about that person? What does that person do for a living? What people are surrounded by that person? We have a fingerprint expert, one of our crime scene techs, and she fingerprints the body.
However, they faced a significant challenge. Water has the power to erase vital evidence, especially in this case, as it posed a worst-case scenario.
Because of the decomposed state of her corpse, it was also a bit difficult to immediately determine who she was.
Just by examining the woman's body, the authorities could tell she'd been in the river for days before they found her. The hot, humid weather only sped up the process of decomposition, making it harder to gather any clues. After the victim was pulled from the water, her remains were sent to the medical examiner's office for further examination. Meanwhile, detectives focused on analyzing the evidence found near the body. One key piece was the rope used to bind the victim. Authorities quickly noticed its unique red and white double diamond stitch pattern, which seemed like a unique detail.
The rope itself was a nylon type rope. It had a double diamond pattern to it, and the ends were burnt to apparently avoid fraying of the ends.
There was also a black rubber cord binding. It was window spline. It's tied around her.
The torn grocery bags attached to the woman's feet also raised eyebrows. They suspected that originally the bags might have been filled with rocks or something heavy by the perpetrator, possible to sink the body in the river.
Makes sense.
So whoever put her there weighted her down, and she was probably on the bottom for a period of time until those rocks or weights that were used busted through the bags, and then she popped up.
Additionally, the rubber tubing used to secure the bags turned out to be pieces of screen spline, which were typically used for holding window screens in place. Finally, detectives focused on the numerous pieces of tape wrapped around the victim's face, hands, and limbs.
There's tape wrapped around the head. She was controlled, she was bound, tied up for a reason.
While it resembled duct tape, it didn't have the signature metallic gray color and was instead white.
Usually duct tape is gray or it's in some other colors now, but at that point in time, white duct tape was very rare.
The authorities were particularly interested in the tape because they knew its adhesive could potentially preserve important trace evidence like fingerprints or DNA. However, despite their hopes, no such evidence was recovered from the tape. It seemed like a dead end, but then, like finding a needle in a haystack, they stumbled upon a few short black hairs clinging to the tape.
They just happened to stumble across it. How the fuck did you not notice those short few black hairs? Like, what the fuck?
Quickly realized that the black hairs couldn't belong to the victim, as her hair was brown with a reddish tint. So it was naturally assumed that the hairs might belong to the perpetrator. After thoroughly examining the entire crime scene, they sent all the evidence off for testing. However, luck wasn't on their side, as in 2000, the technology wasn't as advanced to conduct any tests to identify whose DNA it could be. Their disappointment deepened when they visited the medical examiner's office the next day for the results of the victim's autopsy. According to the reports, the victim's body had been submerged in water for less than 72 hours. However, due to exposure to the elements, the medical examiner couldn't definitively determine the cause of death. Despite this challenge, the examiner managed to piece together some clues that told a chilling tale.
There was no evidence of trauma. There's no gunshot wounds, no broken bones.
So maybe they were drowned alive?
With two equally horrifying possibilities. Either she was strangled or suffocated by the tape covering her nose or mouth, or she was thrown into the water while still alive and drowned.
That's why.
There is this misperception in general that if water is found in the airway, in the lungs, and in the stomach, that means that an individual drowned. But in actuality, water can enter the body in those places passively after death.
Well, it depends how long it depends how long the person's been dead and in the water. Because she's been in there for so long, it would definitely seep into her.
Water in their lungs.
But like if they're in there for like a day or something, it's not just going to work its way in
amidst the challenges of the autopsy, authorities received a ray of hope.
It's not a misconception at all.
Despite the advanced state of decomposition, the medical examiner managed to uncover the victim's identity using her fingerprints.
They make an incision around the wrist of the individual and pull the entire outer layer of skin off of them, and it makes like a glove. One of the forensic technicians would slide their hand into that skin and roll the fingerprints for us.
It was revealed that the victim was 22-year-old Misty
That's
April
fucking
Morse, who was
disgusting.
described as a friendly and sociable young woman with striking blue eyes.
She was 22, blue-eyed, really friendly, very gregarious young woman. We were roughly the same age, and everything that I've heard about her has been very positive.
She seemed like a girl that was still close to her mom and close to her family, but she liked the party. There's a lot of young people that are that way. Until they find what they want to do in life, they're out having a good time.
Misty was still figuring out her path in life as she was taking classes at a local community college while pondering her future. It seemed like there was plenty of time ahead for decisions and adventures. However, tragically, Misty's entire future was stolen from her. On July 24, 2000, detectives from the Brevard County Sheriff's Office paid a visit to Misty's home in the city of Indian Harbor Beach, Florida. There, they were greeted by Misty's mother, Linda Morse, who was completely unprepared to hear the devastating truth about her daughter's gruesome end. She quickly shared the heartbreaking information with her ex-husband and Misty's father, Bob, who reacted in much the same way.
I answered the phone and then I heard her screaming, "She's dead. She's been murdered." I said, "What? Who is this? What are you talking about?" She said, "Misty, she's dead." I almost fell down. I mean, literally, I almost fell down. I said, "What happened?" She goes, "Somebody killed her. They found her in the water." I said, there wasn't anything I could do. It just made no sense at all. The big question is why? What would drive someone to do something like that?
Despite the overwhelming grief, detectives pressed Linda for any information about
Those
Misty's
in
last known whereabouts.
Sriracha.
That's
My
when
man.
Linda recalled that just 3 days prior, on July 20th, 2000,
That sounds
Misty
delicious.
had come home beaming with excitement. She'd shared with her mother that she was getting ready to go out for the night and went to her room. After some time,
That
Misty
sounds
emerged
so
from
good.
her room, and she and Linda shared a light-hearted moment, exchanging jokes. However, their moment was interrupted when Misty's
Yeah,
cell
thank you
phone
for
rang.
spice. Same.
As Linda was talking to
I
her
like
daughter,
spicy food, man. I
Misty
got a
received
jar. I
couple
got a
phone
full
calls.
mason jar
The phone rang
of
and
these
Misty kinda
spiciest
stepped
peppers.
out
Like
of the room, and
they got
it was a
habaneros. You
very
got
quick
jalapenos.
conversation,
You got
and
ghost
Misty
peppers.
said she's
California
gotta go.
reapers.
That was the last time she ever saw
Like
Misty.
literally so many, just like
She'd stepped into the hallway to
spicy
take the call,
fucking
and within seconds, she popped her head back
spicy
into the room,
peppers, just like pepper
announcing
flakes,
that
ground
she
up,
had to
dried
leave
and
and
ground
would
up.
return back by the
I
next
put
day.
some in, like I just took
The
like
next
not
morning,
even like
Linda had gone about her
like
usual
a
routine
dash
and
of
headed
it,
off
and
to
I
her
put it into a
bookkeeping job.
pan to like fry it up.
However, when she returned
Just like
home
got
that
like the
evening,
aroma and shit,
Misty
and it
was
had me
nowhere
going
to
like
be
purple
found.
in the face. It was so
Initially,
hot. Just
Linda
the
didn't
smell
think
of it.
much of it, as she had assumed that
I
Misty
don't know
might
what
be
I
staying
don't know
over
what
at
to
a
do
friend's
with this
house
yet.
for a night or a few days, as she occasionally did. But as the days passed without any word from Misty, Linda's worry
I don't know
grew
what to do with
steadily.
it yet.
It was unlike Misty to remain out of contact for such an extended period,
Come on,
and
don't
Linda
be
had
doing
found
that.
herself caught in a state of anxiousness.
Her mom tried to call her a couple times, see what was going on, when she was coming home, all that, and never got a hold of her. I had called her, but not getting a hold of her didn't surprise me. You know, it's not unusual for Misty to take off with friends and go do whatever.
But when she didn't come home the next day, that's when she started worrying.
Finally, on July 24th, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, Linda decided to reach out to the police. However, before she could make the call, her worst fears were tragically confirmed. Determined to assist in any way possible, Linda granted investigators permission to thoroughly search Misty's
You got
room.
that good tolerance.
The room was normal. There was nothing about the room that was suspicious at all.
While most things appeared to be in their usual place, one detail immediately caught their attention. Sitting on a chair
sorry, wasn't that
was
hot?
Misty's
Oh, whatever.
purse, which seemed untouched.
There's Misty's purse. It had everything.
Sometimes,
in it, with the
it's just
exception
like
of
a lot
her
of the time people
driver
just like over
license and her
exaggerate. You
phone.
know, there's some shit that's just unnecessarily hot though. Like I've had some really
These
hot. My
findings
buddy
pointed
made
to
some
two
really
key
spicy jerky one
conclusions.
time, and it was
Firstly,
like
that Misty hadn't
probably the
intended to
hottest
be
thing
away
I've ever
from
ate in my
home for an
life.
extended period when she left.
Never
And
ate a
secondly,
raper.
that she was likely meeting someone familiar. Their confidence in this theory grew stronger after they'd spoken with Linda in detail about
I don't
her
like
last
just
interaction
eating
with
raw
Misty.
peppers like that.
So the
you know what I mean?
detectives pulled Misty's
I'm not a
cell
big
phone
fan of it. I
records
like
to
putting
confirm
them
this
into
information,
stuff like
and to their surprise, they discovered that not one,
at the guy
but
and
two
shit,
calls
you know?
had been made to her phone that night. The first call had occurred just before midnight and lasted for a few minutes. Then, after a short gap of time, a second call followed. Since this call was brief and lasted only a few seconds, the police concluded that it was likely the one Misty had received while speaking with her
Peppers
mother.
in a brine? Yeah.
However,
in a
they
brine
faced a
even.
challenge.
Yeah.
Phone records from 2000 didn't contain as much information as modern records do today. In this case, investigators had no data available about the locations from which the calls were made, and they couldn't obtain the number of the caller as well. Despite this setback, detectives had relied on the timing and duration of the calls to form a theory. Both calls were likely made by the same person. While
Pickled
everything seemed to fit
mushrooms? Dude, I
logically,
do not like
authorities knew
mushrooms.
they needed more evidence if they were to have any hope of catching Misty's killer. At this point in the investigation, detectives began connecting some crucial dots. While reviewing evidence photos, their attention once again focused on the rope found with Misty's body.
I do not
After conducting
like
further research,
mushrooms.
they realized their initial instincts were on point, as the rope was a specific type commonly used in sailing. Delving deeper into this revelation, authorities began to notice a pattern. The white tape they had initially mistaken for
interesting.
duct
Pickled
tape
mushrooms,
also
huh?
turned out to be sail tape, which is typically used for temporarily repairing canvas sails
Interesting.
aboard boats. Then they also examined the knots tied in the
Just
rope
like the
and
texture of the
screens tied.
mushroom for me. I just
These
don't like
were
that
knots
texture.
that were done in a very specific way.
That was a knot that's consistent with being in the Navy.
Combining this discovery with the knowledge that Misty had been thrown into the water by her killer, detectives reached a significant conclusion. They theorized that the suspect likely had a nautical background and may also have served in the military. After finally collecting a few details that could potentially lead them to a suspect, detectives returned to speak with Misty's family. They wanted to learn about any of Misty's close friends or relationships she might have had in the lead up to her death.
I assured her that we would be there for her and that I would follow this case through. She told me about everybody that she knew in Misty's life.
Almost immediately, two names rose to the top of the list: Ted Underwood and Bobby Cooper, who were the ex-boyfriends of Misty. The detectives had focused their attention on these individuals as prime suspects and began investigating their backgrounds or if they had any motives for Misty's murder. Ted quickly emerged as a person of interest in the investigation, as he was the brother of a friend Misty worked with and someone she'd been casually seeing before her murder. Authorities became suspicious when they discovered Ted's extensive criminal record, including multiple felony arrests and a conviction for felony burglary and sexual battery. On the other hand, Bobby also drew attention to himself due to his one-time date with Misty.
There was a boy, Bobby, that Misty had just started seeing, and I think they'd gone out on one date.
Despite Misty not reciprocating Bobby's feelings, he remained infatuated with her.
He liked this girl a lot. He talked about how he thought that she was the one.
Misty had made it clear to others that she wasn't interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with Bobby, but he seemed unable to accept this rejection. Ted was the first of the two suspects who was brought in for questioning, but to the authorities' surprise, the interrogation didn't unfold as expected. Despite Ted's reputation as a tough guy, he proved to be remarkably cooperative from the start. He openly shared with detectives that he'd been casually seeing Misty around the time of her death, but emphasized that their relationship wasn't anything serious. Ted even agreed to provide a DNA sample when detectives requested it, which demonstrated his willingness to cooperate fully with the investigation.
Did she always pick you up, or did you ever drive over there?
I used my little car a few times.
Whose car was in front of your house?
The little blue Civic, that's my sister's car.
Had you guys talked about a future together?
Sort of. You know, not really.
Nice, yeah, caught me a belly.
You know, trying to get married and nothing like that. We were a lot alike. You know, even down to the basic stuff.
Just for the record, you provided us with 2 swabs, okay?
Yes.
One on each side of your mouth,
yes.
Each side of your mouth.
Yes.
And that was done of your own free will?
Yes.
Okay. You understand that's for DNA purposes?
Yes.
At first, detectives wondered if Ted's friendly attitude was just a ploy to throw them off, but the more they spoke with him, the less they believed this was the case.
He was so honest and truthful. He had nothing to hide. I go by that gut feeling, and I just did not have it with Teddy.
Their suspicions vanished entirely when Ted willingly allowed them to search his apartment. To their surprise, they found nothing incriminating that could connect him with the crime. Additionally, Ted had no military background or access to a boat, so with these factors in mind, detectives ruled Ted out as a potential culprit in Misty's murder.
How long have you known Misty?
Almost 2 weeks.
And when was the last time you were at a house?
Tuesday. We went and had a couple drinks, and then we ended up coming back out here and watching a movie.
Okay. And you called her?
Yes. Called her cell phone every day from then on out until I heard yesterday.
Every day until when?
Until yesterday. Got off work early and I got a phone call from our friend Randy, who told me what had happened. He told me that they had found her floating in the river.
On the flip side, Bobby stood out to authorities because of his access to a boat, which immediately caught their attention when they visited his property for questioning.
He allowed me to look around the house. I was looking for a guy that had the rope, the tape, the Publix bags, the military experience. Bobby had none of it.
During the interview, Bobby openly admitted his romantic feelings for Misty and revealed that he'd been trying to contact her for some time before learning about her tragic murder. Detectives found Bobby visibly emotional during their conversation, but just when they began to question his involvement, he made a shocking admission. Bobby revealed that he had Misty's driver's license, one of the missing items from her bedroom. He explained that Misty had given it to him for safekeeping on their first date since she didn't have any pockets in her outfit, but had simply forgotten about it. Despite his explanation, detectives remained skeptical and requested to search Bobby's home once more.
That's some weird shit.
However, like with Ted, the search turned up nothing incriminating. While Bobby did have access to a boat, none of the other items linked to the crime were found on his property. Additionally, Bobby had no military background. As the police were preparing to leave Bobby's house, a surprising twist unfolded. Bobby halted them and mentioned that he'd recalled something that might be of interest to them.
Bobby knew of an ex-boyfriend that was rough with Misty.
Although Bobby couldn't recall the man's name, one detail stood out to him. Misty had described her ex as a Navy SEAL. Following the lead regarding Misty's ex-boyfriend, detectives revisited Misty's family to gather more information. Linda quickly identified Misty's former boyfriend as Brent Huck and recalled some details about their relationship.
Misty's mom told them his full name, Brent Huck, and she also revealed the relationship between Misty and Brent Huck had been very rocky.
Brent was 28 years old at the time, and he and Misty had been in a relationship for a significant period. Linda described Misty and Brent's relationship as painful and revealed that Brent was often aggressive towards Misty. They frequently argued, and there were instances where Brent even resorted to physical force against Misty. Despite the tumultuous nature of their relationship, Linda hadn't mentioned Brent before because they'd broken up over a year ago, and she believed that they hadn't been in contact since then. As investigators delved into Brent's background, they unearthed a string of concerning details. He was a charter boat captain residing on Merritt Island, which was situated near the location where Misty's
looks like Woody
body was
Harrelson.
discovered.
That's who I was thinking,
Brent's
bro.
proximity to the
I was
crime
trying to
scene
think
and his
of who he looked
occupation
like for
raised
sure.
suspicions
You're
among
100% right.
It
I
appears
can
that
remember that
Brent fit the
motherfucker's
criteria
name.
they'd been seeking. Someone with a
You're
military
100%
background, residing
right.
near the crime scene and possessing access to boats and knowledge of nautical supplies. When
100%.
investigators brought Brent in for questioning,
100%.
they attempted to reassure him and create a false sense of security to encourage him to open up. Initially, Brent appeared cooperative, but detectives remained vigilant as they sought to uncover any potential connections between Brent and Misty's murder.
100%.
However, investigators found that their tactics didn't seem to affect Brent much. He appeared remarkably indifferent upon hearing the news of Misty's horrific death. Brent's lack of disturbance or reaction struck really odd to the detectives. As the interview progressed, detectives learned that Brent and Misty had continued to see each other casually even after the relationship had officially ended. It was during this time that Brent began to speak negatively about Misty's character, disparaging her in various ways. In the midst of Brent's indifferent behavior, investigators noticed a crucial slip-up. Unaware of the significance of his words, Brent inadvertently admitted that he was the one who had made the final calls to Misty's cell phone just before her disappearance.
Right now, we're kind of at a loss. We're grasping at straws, trying to get any information we can on Misty, and we feel you're probably a pretty good source in all what she does and who she hangs out with and this kind of stuff. You're not in any trouble. You're not under arrest. You're free to leave at any time you want. You're on your own free will, so.
More than one house. That's one of my first question was both. Like, you know, we just appreciate you coming down and filling in the blanks. Okay, that's what we need is someone who knows her.
Brent continued to provide explanations for his actions, claiming that he'd made those late-night phone calls after learning that Misty had been telling mutual friends about her alleged pregnancy with his child. According to Brent, he'd called Misty to confront her because he wanted her to stop spreading these rumors, especially since he was now involved in a serious relationship with someone else. Brent insisted that he never met up with Misty
Fucking
that
Woody
night
Harrelson,
and
dude.
said that their second conversation was simply to reassure that everything was fine between them. However, detectives remained skeptical of his story. They discovered through the autopsy that Misty had not been pregnant at the time of her death, which cast doubt on Brent's claim that he was confronting her about the rumors. Detectives theorized that Brent may have panicked upon hearing the rumors and called Misty to meet up with her. This could also explain Misty's excitement to go out that night, as she may have thought that she was reconciling with Brent. Instead, she may have been lured to her death and deceived by Brent's false intentions.
I noticed he had abrasions on his knuckles and hands, and I asked him, how'd that happen? And he says, my dog was pulling me with a leash, and I was on my skateboard, and the leash burned my hands. It's not a burn, it's an abrasion. That's a crazy story.
To gather more evidence, authorities requested to conduct a search of Brent's property, to which he'd agreed. Unlike the previous 2 searches, where they came up empty-handed, this time authorities struck gold. Inside Brent's kitchen, they discovered a crucial piece of evidence: public grocery bags. The bags found at Brent's home, identical to those used to weigh down Misty's body, were manufactured in the same month and year by the same distributor. In Brent's garage, detectives had uncovered a screen spline which was identical to those used to tie Misty's feet. Further tests revealed that the tubing was produced on the same machine. Additionally, a wad of sail tape discovered on Brent's dresser matched the adhesive on the tape found on Misty's body. Moreover, detectives recovered sail rope from Brent's house and the waters near his dock. This rope matched the one found at the crime scene and was tied with the same knot used to bind Misty.
You had someone who had access to a boat. He owned a boat as a charter boat captain.
So when you start to put those pieces together, yeah, your gut feeling and intuition, I didn't like what he said in the interview, or these things were wrong, but then you start putting physical evidence with it. Well, now bells and whistles go off there.
Detectives, now confident in their case against Brent, had wasted no time in compiling all the evidence and presenting it to the district attorney's office to seek justice for Misty. However, soon they were met with unexpected resistance, as the district attorney didn't view the case as straightforward.
What?
Instead, they considered it too risky to take to court and cited that all the evidence was actually circumstantial. Detectives were informed that if they wished to secure a conviction against Brent, they would need more concrete evidence. However, at that moment, they had nothing substantial to strengthen their case. Being frustrated and feeling powerless, the detectives had no choice but to watch as their main suspect, Brent, who was still in custody, continued on with his life as if nothing had happened. As time passed, Misty's case had made headlines in the news. Initially, there was a strong hope that an arrest would be imminent in the weeks following her murder. However, nearly a year later, the narrative shifted to discussions about the hiccups and challenges faced by investigators in the investigation. Despite these setbacks, Misty's family remained determined to keep the investigation in the public eye.
This letter that Misty's mom wrote on the 1-year anniversary of her death, she wrote a letter to the editor that was particularly chilling. And I remember specifically in that letter, her mom wrote about how frustrated she was that, we're 1 year in, Misty's killer was still not brought to justice. He was still basically running around free, enjoying life. And I remember the haunting words in particular. She said she hated to be cold and wet, and she was left in the river. And that really spoke to me, and I felt that sense of frustration. No one had basically made any arrests yet. And so I think that sense of frustration was really palpable.
Detectives also hadn't given up and remained determined to crack the case. They explored every possible avenue, even pursuing leads that seemed unlikely to yield results. Their persistence eventually paid off when they received an unexpected call in the fall of 2002 from a lab called Quest Gen Forensics in Davis, California.
Let's do it.
The investigation took a surprising turn when the most shocking twist was revealed that the black hairs found on the white duct tape at the crime scene were actually dog hairs. This discovery raised many questions and doubts among the detectives.
Oof.
How could a dog be connected to a murder case? While it was an unexpected development, the presence of dog hairs alone wasn't enough to prove anything conclusively. Detectives had realized they needed solid evidence to move forward and solve the case.
Was it possible to take that hair, send it off, get standards from his dog, and be able to match the dog as far as did the hair come from that particular dog, or at least from that breed? Can we match that? Is it possible? We'd never done it.
Advancements in medical science and DNA analysis techniques had opened up new possibilities in forensic investigations. A notable case from California highlighted the potential of DNA analysis in solving crimes involving animal hairs. In this case, a man was convicted of killing a 7-year-old girl, largely due to dog hairs found in his dryer's lint trap. Upon hearing about the case involving dog hairs as crucial evidence, detectives quickly reached out to the lab that had assisted in the investigation. They submitted the hair samples found at the crime scene for further testing. Soon, it was revealed that the hairs belonged to a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix. This discovery immediately rang alarms for the detectives, and triggered a realization that Brent also owned a dog of the same breed, Chiba, who was gifted to him by Misty when they were still in a relationship. Now, the hopes of solving Misty's twisted murder case rested in the hands of Chiba, and detectives wasted no time in collecting a sample of the dog's hair for testing. The sample was promptly sent for analysis, and after a really long wait, the results finally came in, and it was indeed a match.
I had like a dog friend, my Zoom name was Square Savage. I mean, it sounds like your name was, your mind was in the gutter.
The crucial link needed to connect Brent to Misty's murder.
Sounds like your mind was in the gutter.
On October 23rd, 2002, Brent was arrested and charged with Misty's murder. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Brent had killed Misty out of fear that she was pregnant, which could have jeopardized his new relationship. They painted a chilling picture of how Brent lured Misty to her death under the pretense of reconciling.
I didn't make this serious.
Case, prosecutors had also presented all the circumstantial evidence.
Imagine you like in court for like a speeding ticket or some shit. You're fighting a speeding ticket, and your kid makes your name buttfucker 3000 online, and you don't even realize you're just like some old person. And your like grandson made your name buttfucker 3000. Just imagine that shit. That'd be so funny. Oh my god.
Match from Chiba's hair. Now, after all the arguments and evidence had been presented, all that was left was to lock in Brent's fate. In May 2003, Brent was convicted of first-degree felony murder and felony kidnapping and received 2 consecutive life sentences. He's currently serving his sentence at Florida Appalachia Correctional Institution. This outcome finally brought a sense of closure to Misty's family and justice for her tragic death.
This shit happens for real. The other judges and shit, that have such big egos, though.
500 years in jail. And I want him to remember every day of his life what he did. I'm just glad that he can't do it to anyone else.
The case of Misty's murder is a stark reminder that justice has a way of catching up.
The type of kids that are getting bullied in school, you know?
While Brent claimed Misty's pregnancy news was the trigger for her murder, one can't help but wonder if there was something more sinister lurking behind the scenes.
Fucking wild.
What other factors might have contributed to Brent's actions, and what deeper motivations led to Misty's tragic demise? We'd love to hear from you. If there's a case you'd like us...
That's pretty wild. The 4 years, yeah, that man was a cold-blooded killer for sure.
My name is Lucy, and I have to figure out who I am. Sorry, do we know each other?
Grew up with or other daughter. You're probably the last person that saw these 3 girls alive. What?
What?
On
I have
June
seen this
12th,
before.
2017, North Royalton police received a chilling 911 call. A shocked boyfriend had just found the love of his life brutally murdered.
Yeah, it looks like a chick I went to school with. What the fuck?
Investigators began to piece together a chilling narrative that connected this tragedy to another gruesome double homicide not far from the crime scene. Little did anyone know that these horrific cases would reveal a gruesome betrayal tied to a trusted friend. In the peaceful city of North Royalton, lived
that's usually
Suzanne
how they
Taylor,
dumb
a
motherfuckers get caught, bro.
well-respected and
Always
successful
bragging and
real
shit.
estate appraiser. Suzanne was not just a professional, though.
I don't think
She
I've
was a
seen this,
devoted
actually.
mother of
I don't
2 beloved daughters, Kylie and Taylor Pfeiffer. 18-year-old Kylie was eagerly preparing to start her sophomore year at Bowling Green State University, while 21-year-old Taylor was on the brink of achieving her bachelor's degree in fashion design. Now, despite the challenges of being a single mother, Suzanne's flourishing career allowed her to provide a nurturing and supportive environment for her daughters, paving the way for their bright futures. But behind the warmth and success, a horrific tragedy was silently waiting to strike their happy home on that fateful day of June 12th. On June 12th, 2017, Taylor Pfeiffer's boyfriend, Dale, tried reaching her by cell that day. But after countless failed attempts, he decided to check on her at her home.
And I arrived and all the cars were in their exact spots. So it was very weird that all their cars were there and no one was home. And I later learned that she missed the emergency softball practice because her mom helps run it, and Taylor's one of the best pitchers in Ohio, and she coaches the leagues.
Dale realized how unusual all this was, which is why he felt compelled to investigate, even if it meant bending the law. He couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was wrong, something that couldn't be ignored.
So I knocked on the front door and was yelling her name because I was concerned that her mom was holding her there, not letting her go anywhere. And no one would answer, and the dog wasn't barking, which is very strange because they never take the dog anywhere. So I circled the house. All the blinds were shut, all the windows were closed, to what I saw. And I was really concerned. So my father, because we do house reconstruction and stuff like that, oftentimes they don't give us keys. All the outside bars and padlocks are locked from the previous owner. So for that reason, I have a lockpick set that I use to get into those for demolition and rehab purposes. And they have a Latin saying in law, what is necessary is legal, and for either medical emergency or to help her, I decided to pick lock.
Picking the lock was easy, but as he entered the house, his biggest nightmare came true.
And when I walked in, I heard the dog barking from Suz's closed bedroom door, which was never latched shut. She would always swing it closed when Scott was there when she was changing, but it was never latched shut, not one time. So the animals could get in and out, and I found that very strange. The house was silent, the lights were on. You could hear the AC running. It was kind of damp and had a musty smell. And I opened up the bedroom door, and there was a comforter covering the entire bed. But judging by the build, Kylie wearing a teal blue shirt, her arm and leg were hanging off the side of the bed. I knew that they were dead, at least one of them. The bed didn't look right. I assumed there were others there, but I couldn't bring myself to look. So all I touched was the door handle walking in, the screen door, the main door, and then her bedroom door, and then I turned right around and walked out. Didn't touch or look at anything else. I couldn't bear to do it.
According to Dale, Scott was Suzanne's boyfriend. But what he didn't know at the time was that Scott was an ex-boyfriend by that time. He was trying to mend his relationship with Suzanne, which is why he also showed up on Suzanne's doorstep. But unlike Dale, he walked away after no one responded. It was a chilling sight for the boyfriend to not just see his girlfriend lifeless on the bed, but her two daughters lying face down on the same bed, side by side. Crazy. When the investigators arrived at the scene, the bodies were positioned face down, and hair from Taylor was scattered around the house, hinting at a violent struggle. As investigators delved into the Taylor-Pfeiffer case, they started drawing suspicions initially on the ex-boyfriend, the man who confessed to showing up at Suzanne's doorstep. But before there are any suspicions drawn, they asked Scott what else he saw on that fateful day.
The things that I should have noticed was when I knocked on the door, I didn't hear Eris. Eris is your dog. And normally you knock on the door, Eris will start barking. And Eris didn't bark. And I thought, well, maybe I just didn't knock hard enough, but I didn't think it was a big deal. And I had the thought of going over the window and looking in, but their bedroom window before I accidentally locked her out. And she climbed in through the bedroom window once, so I figured I could go in there. But the kids were with me, and I was like, this isn't worth getting in trouble for, and I should have.
So when you went up and you knocked and you approached, so the dog doesn't come, is there anything else that you see or observe?
Just the fact that George's van is there, the door is shut, and the door is locked. So her and George had been fighting. We'll talk about that soon.
Scott remembers seeing George's van, who was a longtime family friend. It wasn't just that his van was there, but it was the way it was parked, which was quite peculiar.
And then the van.
The van was not parked in the driveway. It was parked in front of the dining room window.
Okay, is that odd?
Yes. So normally, at least when I'm there, and I've seen him before, he'll park over by where Taylor's car is. And when we were both there, it'd be one after the other. So the spot in front of Taylor's car was open.
Like, is he in the grass?
He was in the grass, yes.
So he pulled in nose first, or was he back?
Back in. So you have the house and the bedroom.
Is that typical?
No. And his car's right here. There's like a bush right here. The porch is right here. Susan's car is right here. But so he's backed in. Here's your, I call it the dining room. The dining room table's right here.
Okay.
He was backed in, so facing out.
In the grass.
In the grass.
That's odd.
The detectives needed to know more about this George guy, and surprisingly, Scott knew him all too well.
He's like, that's
Tell me about George.
All right, so George is a friend of hers, apparently from childhood. I met him. He lived in his van, or like he still does live in his van. And she said that he always had a crush on her. So she said that he would constantly ask her, "How do I get a girl like you?" So there was that kind of context. So then I start coming around. And it's,
how do I get a girl like
she's
you?
Like, I'm not going to let a friend freeze to death in his van on the street. So he was spending a lot of nights at
Not
her
acting
house.
like that. You
And then when I
fucking
started
cock.
coming along and spending nights, he was like, no, it kind of went away.
Any person who frequented the Pfeiffer residence knew quite well who George was. He wasn't just a friend. The daughters considered him to be somewhat of a father figure to them. Even Dale knew who George was, especially when his girlfriend Taylor spoke so highly of him. In other words, he was an unofficial member of the Pfeiffer family.
Damn.
Now, seeing as he's a lifelong family friend, his interview can give us a deeper insight on who Scott and Dale really were. That's when Brinkman is called and asked to come in for an interview, to which he agrees, but for some reason he ends up as a no-show. After the detectives tried reaching him again and he never picked up, the police put out an APB on George Brinkman Jr. The goal now was to bring him in for questioning and ask why he ended up dodging the police's request for an interview. But what happened next shows just how much he misunderstood the simple call to help. Or did he? They pinged his phone, leading them to Brunswick. They found George at his friend Amy's house. When Amy arrived home, Amy said that she got a very bad feeling about what was going on with George. Only a few minutes later, the SWAT team arrived and got her away from the house. Negotiators tried to talk George down, and that's when George had a gun to his head and a bottle of liquor. He was holed up in his room, ready for a long night. He had plenty of snacks and his medication for his diabetes, along with access to several guns.
Got my
Karina,
diabetes, got
this
my
standoff
liquor.
ended
We're good
about
to go.
30 minutes ago, and we just spoke with the Brunswick Police Department, getting us details about how this standoff ended. They tell us that the SWAT teams did a tactical entry into this home here on Valley Forge Drive in Brunswick. They say the front door was unlocked, and the man inside, they have now identified him. His name is George Brinkman. He is 45 years old. They are now naming him as a suspect in this North Royalton triple homicide. They say they went into the house and they got him out peacefully. He walked out of the house in handcuffs. There were no shots fired in this, but they do say that that George did have a pistol inside the house during this 9-hour standoff with police.
After 9 long hours, police brought
Only had
George
the
out
last
in
9 hours of
handcuffs.
his life right there.
Hours later, 45-year-old George Brinkman Jr., 6 foot tall and 165 pounds, is now sitting down for an interrogation.
Well, I guess I kind of want to just figure out what brought you here today. What is?
I guess,
and I'll caveat that I don't have a lot of information on that. So sometimes we'll come in and help some of the local PDs with some issues. I'm getting here kind of late in the game, so. Just kind of explain.
Yes, I was supposed to talk with Detective Rybicki. I don't want to say her name wrong. Yesterday, and I didn't make it. I didn't get back from where I was till late. I was tired. I planned on coming. The next thing you know, I've got officers swarming the door, and I barricaded myself in.
Because you were afraid?
Well, yeah, you see a bunch of cops coming, and my biggest concern wasn't for me though; it was for the girl whose house it was, and the 2 dogs. And once they were safe, then
Who are you staying with?
her name's Amy. I've known her since we were tadpoles, I guess. She's like 9 years younger than me.
Are you guys like, is it like a family friendship?
Yeah, it's like
families?
family.
Oh, good. Okay.
Her and my mom. Her mom and my mom were best friends growing up. Her mom's the one that got my mom away from my abusive dad.
Okay.
And then they ran into problems. They stayed with us for a while.
Did you ever experience any type of abuse? Or was it directed towards your mom? Or was it a little
It was directed towards all of us.
It was directed
He may be
towards all of
shocked
us.
about the amount of police surrounding his home, but that still doesn't justify an armed 9-hour standoff. Yet, his concern was about the person in the house. During this, he has shed light on his childhood, which is an indicator into his dark upbringing. As he opens up about his past, he shares about his time in the military, after which he did various odd jobs all over Ohio as he struggled to make ends meet. He also went to prison for charges of disorderly conduct and criminal mischief, but mostly for writing bad checks. After that, he got himself a van and did odd jobs all around North Royalton.
Think about going back to doing mechanic work, or like what you're doing now?
I like what I'm doing now. The old man just retired. My son has a company. It's his first shot at running the company.
Yeah.
The company business, I guess, has been around for 15, 17, 20 years. And
what's the company's name again?
7th Generation Ventures.
Has it been around for 7 generations?
I think so.
He was the old man that you initially worked for.
Gene John.
Gene John.
I think so.
G-E-N-E.
And J-O-H-N? Like,
yeah, J-O-H-N.
His last name?
Yeah.
Oh, John. Right.
I was actually, I met him through his daughter who I was dating, and we ended up being engaged.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And then when I got fired from the automobile business, he had that job lined up for me.
So you guys obviously did not get married, or did you get married?
No.
You didn't?
No.
What's her name?
Stacy, Stacey. John.
Were you guys together?
Yeah. Almost, I don't know, 10 years.
Oh,
I think a long
are you guys dating? You're not dating now, are you?
No. And we're trying to do everything we can to help him get it off to a good start, because it's his first, how do I,
business
venture. Yeah. Business venture.
That's a good sign, at least for the family. You still work for them, and
oh yeah, I mean,
you have a good relationship with them.
I never had no hard. No, never. I'm sorry, somebody kind of walked.
There's a window there.
Never had no hard feelings towards them for anything their daughter did.
Okay, that's good.
No, I mean they've always treated me good.
$250,000
I mean,
right
it kind
there.
of sucked when it came to Christmas time. You know,
500K.
Obviously, I understand why I was never invited to any
Not
Christmas party
bad.
they had, because Stacey was going to be there with a new boyfriend. That would have just caused a lot of some trouble. So that's understandable. But Gene would call me up. You know, we might be in between projects and find out that somebody had dumped a bunch of books somewhere. Hey, can you run out here and grab these for me? Got them. On my way. I mean, yeah, I owe the man a lot.
It's interesting how close he was to his employer's family, but it also hints at the fact that he has trouble maintaining relationships. Even with Suzanne, he wanted to be more than just friends, but Suzanne kept their friendship at bay.
The craziest
For
shit
now,
to me are the ones that know they fucked up, and they sit there and they lie, you know? They sit there and they lie, right? And they're like, I want to know what's going through their brain, you know? And they lead in the military? Yo, that's facts. That's facts, though. You ain't wrong. But I just think it's crazy, like, it isn't that much? Yeah, definitely not much. They're definitely a different breed, these motherfuckers, though.
The detectives need to circle back to why he's here, to which he blurts out his link with the Pfeiffer family.
So, what brought you here today? I'm trying to make that connection. So there was an issue with the police last night. What was that related to? Hey, what's that related to?
Like I said, I thought I was supposed to talk to a detective, right, Vicky? My friend Sue.
I'm listening to too much Moral Technique, for real.
And her 2 daughters.
The third world son.
I guess were killed this weekend. And I know I saw Sue Saturday, and I saw the girls as I was pulling out of the driveway, and I guess I'm the last one to see them. Okay. And I guess her boyfriend found them. Taylor's, that's the oldest daughter. Mm-hmm. Me and Taylor had this bond. It was ridiculous. I've known Sue since grade school. And I was there when Taylor was first born. We lost contact over the years. Mm-hmm. And this recently got back in contact about 2 years ago. And me and Taylor hit it right off. I mean, it's like we never lost that bond she had when she was born. And then we were sitting there
Yo, Jay, what's good?
Watching Jurassic Park. And I don't know if you've seen the movie where the little Timmy's on the fence and they're yelling for him to jump, 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 jump.
Yeah.
And he gets blown off into the Dino Man. Well, she called me the Dino Man. Her name was Timmy for a minute.
That's funny.
No.
What?
Because I should have been there for Saturday. And that was it.
Oh, just careful, man. Take a second.
Me out. There's a little time.
At one point, you can catch Brinkman's guilt overriding his emotions as he's sitting on one big secret. It's hard to tell what, though, which is why the detectives need to play the slow game. They can't resort to tactics or tricks to get him to confess, but instead, they just have to listen to him and hope that he'll come clean on his own.
You said something interesting to me. You said that you think you might be the last person to see them alive.
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
Well, I know when Sue and I were talking, I was having issues with staying around the area. I'd asked her if her and I could just talk because I didn't want Taylor to get upset if I was leaving. And she would have.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving? Yeah, I was tired. This happened because of work Friday.
Okay.
I got angry. I got upset. The project is not going like it should. And instead of hitting what I thought was a fake wall, was a real wall.
Wait, so it was a fake wall?
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Real wall wins every time.
Yeah.
I found that out.
What was so stressful that made you want to hit the wall? Fake or real? But
the project's not going as fast. They really screwed us with the projects this year because we're supposed to start 2 in April and these 2 in May.
Mm-hmm.
They put them all 4 together.
In which month?
In May.
Okay.
So we had to find 2 other people to run the other 2 warehouses. Now Jason and I ran the main ones. Mm-hmm. None of the carriers I usually have can work for me because they're working at the other warehouses because they're closer. And it's been doing this and me and Jason, he sounded a little pissed off on the phone because he is the boss, I understand. And it came down to I'm paying you sitting around and doing nothing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're right, I'm sorry, you know. And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I just swung at the wall.
He was never asked what happened to his hand, and yet he brings up this story that demonstrates his frustration and rage. And with this story in mind, the detectives have all the more reason to keep him under their radar, considering how dangerous he is and how he's unable to control his anger.
I don't obviously do it often.
Yeah.
Sounds like my one IRL buddy. Whenever he's like something bad would happen to him, he'd just punch something and like break his hand. It's like, fuck, man, you gotta break your hand so many goddamn times before you can't use that shit no more.
In on the inside. And then once in a while, usually I'll
try to take my anger out,
with
man.
the Skeeter books there, I'll pretend, you know, like I'm boxing because they're soft.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I just turn around and just hit the wall. That was it.
With Sue, so when did you learn that they were the victim of this tragedy?
When I was coming home from North Canton Sunday night.
Okay.
I think it was, I want to say it was around 8 when Taylor's boyfriend called me. I mean, I texted her during the day because when they go to they have softball on Sundays. When they go to softball, they don't answer the phone.
Okay.
And
what time period is that?
If I had my phone, I'd have it.
Okay.
Sometime afternoon. That's all.
Okay.
I don't know what time their games are scheduled, but I just said, hey, thanks for keeping my head straight yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're at softball or not. I can't remember. Give me a text or a message later and we'll talk some more.
Okay.
And when I didn't hear from her, I didn't think nothing of it because sometimes we'll go a day or 2 or 4 or 5 and up. And then I get the phone call from Dale and I'm like, no, you're joking, right? And he said no.
So far, Brinkman has set the picture that he was quite close to the family and that he would never do such a thing. On the other hand, the rage-filled story of his injured hand, plus the 9-hour standoff, compels the detective to believe that he is indeed capable of pulling off such a brutal homicide.
No shit.
So now the detective is about to bring up the pictures of the victims, to which his response must demonstrate that he really, really cared about the family.
Just for my own understanding. Who's who here? I'm not trying to upset you. I can tell that you were very close to them. Can you help us by kind of running through that day on Saturday? Just what you remember?
It's hard. It's the hardest thing.
Just run through.
I can tell you, Andy, I do this a lot. We get it, we understand. But you can help.
Hopefully I
I
can
mean, that's the thing.
fucking get a
That's-
decent
that's
task
what we're
after
here
this,
for.
some gargoyles or something. That'd be cool.
So that for your help is important. That's all we're talking. Let me ask you this: Is she still on Friday?
No.
No. So Saturday, you saw her Saturday. Okay.
I asked if it was okay if I come over around 1 because I work till about 12.
Did you do that? Do you remember, was that done by text message or did you call her? How did that?
Text message, we never really talked about it.
Let me ask you a question. And this one, I gotta ask this to everybody. Did you have anything to do with any of this? What happened to them?
We're gonna.
I have to ask that to everybody.
I know you're.
I can tell that's
No.
good. And can you help us work through? Can you help us work through kind of? Man.
I just
Yeah, so you understand I gotta ask that question, right?
Yeah.
That no felt too personal. You can tell by now that even though he is an emotional softy over the loss of the Pfeiffer family, he carries a dangerous level of rage inside. His response almost sounded like he panicked, after which he grabbed the Pepsi just to get a breather after that response. The detectives picked up on his rage-filled eyes and decided to take a step back after such a big accusation.
To the best of your knowledge or your recollection, what you recall of sort of Saturday, I guess is that the...
What time do you get up on Saturday?
Yeah, start from the beginning of Saturday.
I know it's hard, and I know you don't want to do that, but you know what? Like I said, it's all about health.
Leaving the house.
22K away from 84. What do I get at 84? I need brakes.
Do you remember, did you get
to work?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I had my Monster and my cigarette when I got up. Went to work, opened the warehouse, got everything organized, and then sat there and watched movie time on my computer until somebody decided to show up.
Anybody contact you during that time? Did you,
oh, I'm sure.
Text messages?
You mean them?
Them or anybody else?
I texted Sue that morning if we could talk. I said about 1 o'clock, and she said that's fine. She said the girls might not even be home by then. I told her I wanted to discuss what was going on with me and work and with Amy and with everything. Because, I don't know, I was just having a bad day and I felt like Amy's house big. Got a cigarette. That's big. I hate this day. Please.
Well,
and I'm a 2-pack a day smoker, so I'm kind of hurt.
Can we get through Saturday? See what we can do?
Yeah.
I know. I know we can do that. So we can do.
All right, so I get this. I call Sue. Text Sue. Sorry, wrong word. Told her I'll be there at 1. I show up at 1 o'clock. As I'm backing my van into her front yard, her and her girls are pulling in into her car. And I'm like, oh, all right. I don't really want to talk in front of her. Especially Taylor. Because Taylor is, she's very sensitive. So I didn't want to get her upset. I wasn't sure if she had plans with Dale that night. So I went inside. One of the girls had to use the bathroom. And then they said something about wanting to go to the mall. So I gave them $20 to go eat. Say, hey, can you give me about maybe 2:30 to talk to your mom? They're like, oh yeah, sure, not a problem, bye. Me and Sue talk.
What are you guys talking about?
I tell her about what's going on at work, how I think Amy's treating me. She tells me about her and her boyfriend Scott broke up. And then she started telling me about some guy that she was gonna hook up for dinner, and at that point I just zoned out because here she just broke up with Scott. She's already talking about dinner with another guy. And it hasn't even been a week yet.
That's kind of typical with her? Like,
she would do that. I mean, I don't...
What's your relationship with her? Were you guys ever romantic, or are you just like
always been
close friends?
Always only been friends.
Okay.
And we knew, even back in high school, it would never work anything other than friends.
Where'd you go?
Valley Forge.
Okay.
The detectives are looking for a
guy's
motive
been a
here.
lifelong
Because
friend.
while he claims to be quote-unquote just a friend, something must have tipped him off to commit such a gruesome crime. It's possible to consider that this could be a case of dating violence, but Brinkman has reassured the detectives that nothing was going on between him and Suzanne. Although, based on how much he's been a part of her life, it is difficult to suggest otherwise.
I mean, is she a good mom?
Yeah.
She's a good mom?
I mean, if she can be a little overprotective.
I'll talk him up. Hover.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes. She did have to know when they were in school what time her classes started, what time her classes let out, what time they ate, what time they did. I mean, she was a little too overprotective, but for the most part, she didn't have any issues with them.
How was she as a person?
How is anybody as a person? I mean, she got her goods and her bads. I mean, it's just too smart, like money.
What do you
The
know?
whole, I hate to say it, but one guy to the other, just because they had money.
Okay.
Now that's her personal preference.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear about it.
No.
Yeah. You guys have a problem? You're an adult. Fix it. And I would tell her that. Hey, fix it yourself. You're an adult. I'm tired of trying to fix your problem. Well, come on. It's like, stop it.
Does she come to you a lot with her problems?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't even get a good morning text. It'd be like, I hate my life. I'm
Really?
like, really? Good morning to you too, sunshine.
Yeah.
And then she would tell me either
This
her
guy
car
looks
was
like
having
fucking
problems,
Heisenberg, yeah.
Or, she was having problems with Scott. Or her boss was giving her hassles. It was just something different every day. And when she came back from Disneyland, it's not a, hey, how you doing? I'm back. That was the worst trip ever. And all I said to her was like,
If it shows you at work or at?
I'm starting to realize you're never going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And all expense. And all because Kylie said something. She'd never been to Disneyland, and dude whipped out his wallet and paid for the trip in advance.
Sounds like a good dude.
Yeah. I kept trying to get her. I was like, you know what? Maybe you're too stuck up on Dave that you're ruining it with Scott. No, I don't do that. And then all I heard about, I miss Dave. I think Dave traded you in for a short little Asian girl with 2 children. You were his side piece the whole time. You found out about it because you found out where he actually lived and went knocking on the door and she answered. I was like, most people would walk away from that and say, you know what, I learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
No. She wanted me to go over there and talk to him. She wanted me to follow him to work. I said, no.
It's annoying.
I said, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I said, you got to learn. You got to get over him. He is not worth it. Scott's a tremendously better guy than Dave ever was.
Suzanne seemed to be in a bit of a love triangle with Dave, Scott, and based on her friends, Brinkman was one of them. Brinkman claims to be an outsider, but in reality, he loved Suzanne. But she considers him just a friend, nothing more, nothing less. Deep down, Brinkman was frustrated knowing that she gave these 2 strangers so much attention, and hoped that she would eventually fall for him.
She convinced me that running away
I wouldn't
from
call it
the
really a
problem
love triangle. He
will
was
never
just
solve
like,
it. And yeah,
she
I
could have
heard
been
it
leading him
before.
on. I don't know. I can't speak to the.
Can I see, like, what were you running away
Evolution.
from? What did she perceive that you were running away from?
Like I said, my work, the whole being a house bitch for Amy, not being
It's like a
able to
comedy
get
bit.
my
There's like
own
a comedy bit that goes.
jump start on life every time I
What
start to get in there,
27-year-old
something
man's
comes
got there
along
saying, you know what I
and
need?
derails it,
More
and I'm back
female
to square one
friends.
again.
I ain't none.
I have done square one so many times I can do it blindfolded with the back.
Just
straight.
realized I left my charger at work. Yeah, dude, that is a rip. That is a rip.
So it's nothing new.
It is a rip.
But she's told me that Taylor would be very hurt if I just up and left.
The detectives will now ask him for the second time whether he had anything to do with their death.
I need a cigarette now. I just need a cigarette. I have.
Well, just one last thing, just to reiterate, Alex, we'll see what you can hear. You know, this is why you're here, right? You got to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm being blamed for it.
No, not being blamed for it. I'm going to ask you if you have anything to do with it.
Hell no. And I don't know if I can say this, but I'm already in trouble anyways. I don't give a shit. If I find a motherfucker who did it, I'm sorry. There ain't gonna be no trial. You don't take Timmy from me. You don't take my best friend from me that I grew up with, or other daughter.
I have that. That's fine. I get it.
Who do you think could have done this?
I don't know. I don't know anybody that would. She can be annoying, okay? Women are annoying. Guys are annoying. Not that annoying. Kept to herself mostly. Unless she needed something, then she would very, very politely ask. Taylor, she needs the goddamn chicken nuggets off your plate without even asking.
You'll see that.
And I keep thinking, what if I would have waited another 15, 20 minutes and not left? What if I would have waited to talk with these two? But my whole thing is, if I would have stayed, 15, 20 minutes, another 40 minutes.
You were driving away, did you see anything suspicious?
No, like I said, I wasn't paying attention because the wife and I was in the neighbor's car, but that's it.
I mean, he's got like the worst alibi I think I might have ever heard. Well, not necessarily ever heard, but one of them.
So far, the interrogation has been circling around the North Royalton murders. But as the detectives were examining the crime scene, they noticed a striking similarity with another homicide just 44 miles away from North Royalton. On June 11th, 2017, a senior couple named Rajal and Roberta John were found dead in their home, also covered with blankets. Rajal, Jean, John, and his wife Roberta were well known in their community. He was a Vietnam War veteran and a former circulation director, while she had a long career in education. The next day, they were discovered by Jean's son, who was worried when his father failed to show up for work. The case of John's family and Pfeiffer's family shared the same style of dead victims. They were lifeless under blankets. And interestingly, George even mentioned earlier that he worked for Jean John's phone book business as a delivery person, and that he dated their daughter Stacy for a brief while. Remember his story about not getting invited to Christmas? That was proof of how close he was to the Johns family. He even used the family's garage for his mechanic and furniture work. So now George is linked to not just 3 homicides, but 5, which is why a second detective enters the room whose agenda is to talk about the other case. Now at this point, we want you to focus on his reaction to hearing about the Johns family deaths, because unlike the Pfeiffer family's death reveal, his reaction seemed extremely unusual.
I'm Deputy Kennedy from Stark County Sheriff's Office, okay? And I know that you've been talking to these guys about some stuff, but you'll have to forgive me because I don't know what this whole conversation's been, all right? What I'm here to talk to you about is the Johns, okay? You work for who? Who do you work for?
Jason John.
Jason, that's the son?
The son.
Okay. Dad just retired.
Yeah.
Right? How long have you known those guys? If you had to guess. I'm not going to hold you to exact time, so don't stress about that or anything.
10 years?
About 10 years.
12 years?
House set a bunch of times when they go on vacation.
Yeah.
Right? You've done that a bunch, right? For them, house set.
Yeah.
And Jason actually said you're a hard worker. He actually said you're one of his best workers. He said that I talked to him. He said you're a phenomenal worker. So you were house setting.
This guy's voice is called high and shit.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long was that arrangement? Like, when did you guys talk about that? Like, did they come to you and say, "Hey, we're going to be gone. We need somebody"?
It was at least a couple weeks ahead of time.
Okay.
Because they wanted to make sure Can we move those from over? They're kind of distracting.
So you couldn't really count on it. They wouldn't say, hey, we're supposed to be home around Sunday at 8. They would say, we're heading home on Sunday.
Yeah.
So you just kind of
usually about an hour out. They text me. They did Sunday. Said they were shocked.
They did text you Sunday. Yeah. Okay. What was your phone?
For the next 30 minutes, the detective asks a series of questions that verifies not just his connection to the Johns family, but that he was there the day they were murdered. But after a lot of questions, Brinkman couldn't help but wonder,
what does Stark County got to do with that?
Well, I'm going to get to it, okay? So the reason that Stark County's here is because, correct me if I'm wrong, these guys have told you, and in essence, I believe, you're probably the last person that saw these 3 girls alive. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the coincidence that comes into play with Stark County is you're probably the last person that saw Gene and Bobby alive.
What?
So that's a
whoa.
Hear me out for a second. Hear me out.
It's important.
You asked me a question, I'm going to answer it for you.
No.
Okay?
Listen.
I'm going to answer it for you. I'm going to answer your question for you.
Relax.
So
you gotta listen.
You would agree with me that with that being done, there are a lot of those sticky notes that need answered, right? You would agree with that. Right? You would agree with me on that. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here, George, is we have to clear up these things. And you've been extremely cooperative with these guys today. We appreciate it because you're helping us clear up and you're actually helping us answer a lot of these questions. All right? Those tears and everything, you love those people. You do. You love them. You don't react like that if you don't care about somebody. There's not a doubt in my mind that you don't care for all 3 of these girls and that you don't care for those people. Not a doubt in my mind. Your reactions tell me that. That's a human emotion and you can't control it, but your heart feels that. Right? So what I need you to do is help me clear these questions up, George. That's what I need to do. These are all people that you care about. And I know you cared about them. And at this point in time, your investigation, you're really the only person that can take these away.
Okay, so, I mean, I thought I would be accused of 3, now it's 5. And then, no.
Take a second and think about what happened.
George, what made you think you're being accused? Can you tell me that?
Notice that his emotional outburst doesn't stem from their deaths. It stems from him thinking that he's accused of murdering the 5 people. Not once have the detectives accused him for the murders, but he jumped to that conclusion almost immediately.
What made you think that you're being accused?
Like you said, I'm the last person to see not 3 but 5 people alive.
Okay.
You don't just have questions and send SWAT to the door. That's why I thought I was being accused of these. That's why they came bum rushing the house last night. And the fucking reporter I was talking to.
When did you talk to a reporter?
That fucking reporter.
She texted me yesterday when she found out that I was friends with Sue, Lacey, Chris. For 19.
Do you know that? Like, do you know her? Or?
She just wanted to get me to go on camera and talk about the good things about. And I said I won't do that until I talk. Because I was waiting on North Royalton to call.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the procedure is.
Okay. So she was texting you, asking you about this stuff?
She sent me a friends request.
Is that how you guys were talking? Was on Messenger?
Yeah. And then I was talking to her last night, letting her know that, you know, I had nothing to do with these 3, and that, you know, the cops are outside my house. I'm going to die one way or the other.
Can I ask you a question? Listen, George, look at me. Can I ask you a question? So here's something that's going on in my head. So a abnormal reaction, right? Like if the police came to my door, I wouldn't be in a situation where I would retrieve a firearm and then
I had it in the room with me when I saw them.
Listen,
I know.
listen, look at me. Look at me. I wouldn't go to a window and put it to my head. I wouldn't sit there as a diabetic and just drink so much sugar that I put myself to a 460 blood sugar level. That's hyperglycemia. You're pushing diabetic ketoacidosis.
My blood sugar has been so high, I've seen always around things.
130.
I know.
Listen,
my average was 550 though.
Listen. I'm not sitting here trying to dispute this, but listen, do you understand how kind of the totality
I see
of
how it
everything?
looks. I see how it looks.
Here's what I'm getting at, George.
I need a cigarette right now, or I can't talk anymore.
George, let me ask you a question. Let's slow it down a little bit. Take a deep breath. Relax. Okay? Let me ask you a question. With your hand, how did that happen? How did your hand happen?
I got mad at work Friday and I punched a brick wall. I thought it was a big wall. It turns out it was a real cement wall.
Okay, what'd you get mad at?
We go with that.
It's
just work-related stuff. You know, nothing. Stress. We're not getting out of there fast enough. I don't feel like I'm doing a good enough job. And I just turned around after I got off the phone with Jason to hit the wall. I thought I was hitting the wood wall.
Okay.
I was in the wrong spot and I smacked the cement wall.
Ready for your cigarette? Take a little break. George, it's all about clearing up questions, and you're doing a hell of a job doing it for us. But we have to get rid of them.
I know, I understand the question. But
Yep, we have to get rid of these questions.
I know.
No, I'm not gonna do magic right now.
We don't mean to be personal.
I'll just AFK Amelia.
Yeah, we're ready for the break. What do we need to do? Relax for this cigarette.
Oh no, I'm used to last night. So I kept my hand on it. Because I gave it up.
You're okay, man.
Man up. You're gonna get down, right? Don't worry about it. You're good.
That was an intense couple of minutes, after which a cigarette break was very much needed. After a while, the detectives requested a polygraph test on George since he's not diverting from his claim one bit. If there's one thing that triggers George throughout this interrogation, it's being accused. But even after being so, he continued to give information. But when he started hearing his polygraph test results, it only put him in more disbelief.
So we're not here. Okay? I can't honestly say, I can't go to the prosecutor. I can't say, hey, look, he did, because it's not true. And I gave you the benefit of the doubt on everything that I could. So I was like, okay. So, I don't think you're here. I can't read your heart. I can never tell you. All I can do is trust in you. I don't believe there was any premeditation. I don't believe there's anything that person had any plan to do anything. Could you, I don't think that you're a witness to anything. I mean, if you tell me you are, then fine. Then we'll identify the other person and get some more information. I'm kind of like, well, it could have been a self-defense thing. Maybe this girl was crazy. Maybe she came at him with a knife. Maybe something happened. Or it's an argument situation. Maybe you were telling her, hey, you need to chill out on these guys or not treat Scott poorly or not do something else. But something happened and it's right in here. But I don't know. But I don't think this is my biggest concern. This is what I want to be able to go back and tell people. This is not a premeditated situation. This is not an intentional thing that was planned out to hurt anybody or anything like that. This is a situation where an argument happens, emotion got the best of us or the best of them, and maybe she hit him first, maybe she slapped him, maybe she kicked him, and we're gonna respond, and then we get scared and it just all falls down. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I don't believe you. I think you care about all these people. I don't. Exactly. That's exactly right. And so that's what I want to be able to show is this is not who you are. This is not who you are as a person. Do people make mistakes? Yeah. Does things get beyond us? Yes. But this is not a planned out, perpetrated, cold calculating kind of thing. This is a situation that happens. And that's what that's what we want to figure out is why. Why did it happen? Okay.
That puzzled look on Brinkman's face shows how much he's contemplating the situation. The FBI agent is putting every possible motive to kill in front of him, and he can't help but realize that he's not looking good in any possible way. And after a lot of pressuring and genuine reasoning, he has no choice but to clamp up.
You have to respectfully ask to have a lawyer. That's what this is coming down to. I no disrespect to you.
No, I'm not taking any disrespect. Okay, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to step out and I can talk with the investigators. Okay? Okay? If you want to reach out for us at a later time, you can, go to the detectives and then, but I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I want to respect that. Okay? So I'm going to step out of the room for just a few minutes. So please stay here, okay?
Oh, that's watermelon? Damn. Oh, that's watermelon.
What's that?
You dog.
Cigarette? Might as well do my final one.
Pirates of the Caribbean is pretty good.
Would you drink?
Fortunately, it was in the cigarette break that the detectives caught a break with the case. As Brinkman was within the prison walls smoking, he said something so unexpected that the detectives had to rush him back in, read him his Miranda rights again, and asked him to repeat what he said. Only this time, they were certain that he was going to spill the beans.
Sometimes we say, you're the right guy.
Yes, I did.
Talk to me what happened. How did this?
So it's like peeling an onion, the why is layers and layers.
Things were going fine. We were talking, and then I don't know what set her off. She just started going all batshit crazy. Not swinging or anything, but she just lost her cool.
Has that happened before?
Not to this degree. I mean, she's gone from being okay, or as I used to say, 0 to bitch in less than a second, but nothing like this. I mean, I don't know if it was something I said that set her off, because all we were talking about was how it was going to, pack up and leave, and, it would probably be better for everybody if I wasn't around, because everybody didn't have to worry or pretend to worry about me. And she just lost it. And then we started screaming and yelling and arguing. And then she got up in my face and I snapped.
What happened? She
She got right up in my face, and I'm not saying I thought she was gonna hit me or anything. I mean, don't take this wrong. She is a female. Yeah, I'm sure they can do some damage. And I just snapped. I lost control. I completely lost control. I picked her up, threw her to the ground, trying to get her to shut up and stop, and she just wouldn't listen.
Like, almost like a wrestling type of thing, like you picked her up and...
Yeah.
So what happened next?
I took her in her bedroom and I threw her in her bed and told her, just shut the fuck up and chill out, just chill out. And she just wouldn't shut up.
She said,
fuck you, you're an asshole.
So what happened then?
And I tried literally, I tried to walk away, but she had said something that I attacked her in the bed, and the girls got all. How do I put it? We got all. Not scared, but it's like they went on the offensive. I'm like, no, wait a no, and then they just
fight with that.
yeah. And I tried everything I could, and I just couldn't. I mean, yeah, they hit me, and it didn't hurt, but I just kept thinking, what the fuck? I just got betrayed. You know, I didn't do shit. She's the one that snapped on me. And I just lost it. What happened? I made them all go in the bedroom. I grabbed one of the knives from out of the kitchen. And I wasn't going to hurt them. I was just going to tie them up and just walk away. Just so I didn't have to try to fight him anymore to get out the door. The dog was going crazy. And she just wouldn't shut up. I don't know if she snapped or what. I don't. And I keep replaying it over in my head. What should I have done different? I mean, besides what I did. Why? What did I say? What did I do? What did I do this time? You know?
Was she like tied up at this point?
Yeah.
What was she tied up with?
She had zip ties in the house. So, and then she broke through the first set. And then I used the duct tape she had in her house just to keep their hand. And I'm going to say this now, none of them were sexually molested. No, that's
No,
not.
I would not believe that.
No, that's. And she just wouldn't shut up. I even tried putting duct tape on her mouth.
Snapped. That's his excuse for killing Suzanne and her 2 daughters. He just snapped after they got into an argument. In fact, this is the same rage rampage that he confesses to about the John murders.
Johns. I just want to get everything out there. And again, I don't think that was something that was planned out.
Just had a bad day.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but were you panicking?
Yo, Shawnee boy, Toke, if you're still here.
Get out of there. You didn't know what to do. You had to see something.
Toke?
To get out of the area.
What was it done?
Yeah. What happened with him?
And something had happened to his face. She had medicine that I was giving her at, once in the morning, once at night to help it heal. And she picked him up and she said it was worse, that I didn't do anything to take care of the dog. And then Gene came in and said something about, and I made a mistake and I lit a cigarette in the house. And he started going on this whole now attitude about smoking, because he's a reformed smoker. And I understood why he wanted me to quit. Just the stress from the day before. And then he had a pistol downstairs that I don't know if he forgot he left out, but when I went down to do laundry, I saw it sitting there, and it was another 1911, chrome plated. And I was like, oh, this is cool.
Let's do it, brother.
So being yelled at no more. So I told him to go up in the room and shut the fuck up.
Which Caribbean movie did you watch, brother? Which Pirates movie?
I don't know why.
The CGI in the older ones are so good. With Davy Jones and shit.
And then, Bobby just lay in the bed. Nothing's gonna happen. Lay in the bed. Gene, lay in the bed. I need time to get out. I need time to go. And as soon as I turned my back, he turned around and came running at me. And that's when I shot him in the head.
Was it like a reaction thing? Or?
Yeah, I had my back
Shock.
to him, and he turned around, and it was like a jerk reaction, and the damn thing went off. I'm like, oh, fuck. And then
I was like, oh, fuck.
That's my son. He was hitting the hip, but he still tried to fight. Bobby sat up, was screaming, and all I did is I just said, shut up. And I didn't even know I pulled the trigger. I was just pointing at the guy like you would point your finger at somebody. And next thing you know, let's take a second. I never ever
Cheers,
thought
brother. At World's End,
about it doing
nice.
anything like this.
Either
Anybody.
the
But I
that
don't
one
know.
or
I
the first one. I
wish
can't.
knew
I don't know
why
which
I
one's my
snap.
favorite. It's a toss up between
I
those
don't.
two.
I can handle when other people snap. I've never snapped like that before. I mean, yeah, I'll get angry once in a while. Granted, this was not. I will punch a wall. You know, I'll kick a tire.
You said this
This
happened when you
happened.
hit hard. Right?
Yes, it did. I tried to get her to shut up, but I punched her.
People, I mean, you do a lot for her.
It doesn't matter. I shouldn't have did that.
No. But I'm saying.
And then the girl came in the middle of it. And then I started freaking out of bed. And then everything went to hell. And that's when I grabbed the knife. Get them all in the bedroom. She had zip tied it up.
Did the girls like see you like physically like wrestling around with
Watch
her?
one the night before bed. Hey, yo, that's what's up.
I came out of the
Great
bedroom.
series. I might watch one tonight actually.
And
Time
they're
is at
like,
1 o'clock.
hi, and then her mom started screaming. And then that's when I said, get in the bedroom.
You had the knife.
Yeah, because I was trying first to get you to be quiet. That's all, just to be quiet. I never ever thought I hurt her. I never thought I could do anything like that because I had a knife when I came out. I had it down. Ow. I had it down by my side when they came in. Because I was going to try to get out the door. And then she started screaming, help, 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 help. And then the girls started panicking, and that's when I pulled the knife. I said, go, get in there.
How did the girls panic?
Taylor is easily stressed, easily panicked. She heard her mom screaming for help. She thought, I don't know, I can't say what she thought. She started crying and shaking.
I didn't like the
Kylie
second
stood
one
there
that
and
much.
got
I
this
like
look on her
the
face like,
I like the third one more. The
like,
first
and I'm
and the
like, oh
third
shit,
one are
here
my
comes the
favorites.
Brahma bull.
The second one I can't.
And I got scared.
Genuinely, I can't
didn't
remember
wanna
what the
touch
second
him at
one's
all. I didn't
about.
want to hurt them in any way. And that's when I put the knife up to scare them, to get in the bedroom, that's all. And they went in the bedroom, I grabbed the zip ties, and then there was duct tape sitting right there on the counter. I can't.
Did you bring that stuff into the house?
No.
Or was it there?
That stuff was there already. The duct tape that I had in my truck was like a thin roll like this, but it was in my toolbox that I'd taken out and put in Amy's garage. It was sitting there.
After he stabbed Suzanne, the girls came home, which is when he marched them up to the room. It is an interesting thing how Brinkman picked that one room of the house, which was the farthest from the door, which means that anybody walking outside the house or at the gate couldn't hear a single scream. There seems to be some level of planning on his part.
And then Taylor started freaking out. She said, you killed my mom, you killed my mom, you killed my mom. I freaked out. I jumped on Taylor and I put her face in the pillow. I said, shut up, shut up. Just please shut up. And now the whole time I'm hearing that noise coming, I'm going over trying to get it to go away.
Over Sue?
And I could still hear it. I'm like, oh my God, what is it?
The man's chest.
And then Taylor stopped moving.
They've been telling no lies. Which one was that? I don't remember that.
She started.
Is that the one with like? That's gotta be a newer one.
And, even though her legs were taped, she was kicking and jumping all over the place. And I don't know when I
Captain
saw
Jack has to deliver the
bone
souls.
charger cord, and I just grabbed into it around her neck. And I kept it there till she stopped moving. I wish it would have been me. No, I do. They deserve to, not me. They were great people. I'm not.
And that's how the tragic tale ends. Taylor even showed signs of a struggle, but she ended up with a fractured skull. Brinkman would have stopped after he snapped on Suzanne, but because her daughters witnessed him, they were taken to the same fate as her. On November 5th, 2018, Brinkman pleaded guilty to the North Royalton murders and waived his right to a jury. He was found guilty and sentenced to death on May 31st, 2023. For the John murders, he also pleaded guilty and was sentenced to death on October 4th, 2019. Brinkman remains on death row at the Chillicothe
October 4th, 2019.
Correctional Institution, with his execution scheduled for September 23rd, 2026. In the end,
Why did they wait
his
for so
case
long?
leaves a haunting question about the trust we place in those we consider our closest. Now, if you found this story horrific, you need to check out my video on the crazy ex-wife who...
I don't know, man. Like, wait, what?
Like what you see on the screen? We've got some great news. Debt relief programs are available to...
Hi, Mom. How's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine.
I'm driving.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. The last one, Dead Man Tell No Tales. True, bro. True. That's the one with like Blackbeard or whatever. Been a while since you have. Yeah, Star Wars are a good one. Bro, honestly, I'm kind of like a geek. Every year I watch like the first 6 Star Wars movies at one point in the year, and then like the Lord of the Rings movies. I am quite the nerd. I wish I was rich and I could have my own home theater, you know? I'd be watching Lord of the Rings for sure in that bitch. Yeah, Blackbeard and Salazar, yeah. I remember watching it in the theaters and I don't know, I didn't really like that one that much. It felt like it lost the plot.
Look who it is. This is Drew UN.
New Suicide Squad season. Instead of putting the known villain Mr. Freeze, they gender swapped him, and now is Mrs. Freeze, who is a lesbian. The summary of the new season overall.
Mrs. Freeze is dead though.
Oh, it's so bad, it's
dying.
funny.
As you can see, we have the character, Mrs. Freeze. We also have a few skins. Science of Style Arkham Pack, so it's just the...
Am I the only person who thinks that it might be a little bit stereotypical that every time they put a lesbian in the game, they make her look the same way? With like that weird haircut and they make her look masculine? That's not what being a lesbian is. It's a sexuality. It's not an image. Like, it's
true,
crazy to me how these people who are supposedly so progressive keep stereotyping everybody they're trying to represent. Fucking stop it. There's plenty of lesbians that don't look like this. I looked it up. I know this for sure.
Outfit.
I know this better than anybody.
We also have Historic Cool Classic Pack.
Uh-huh.
The fuck is that?
I'm okay. We're just gonna move on. The Riddler's Mark of Intelligence. Okay, well that's weird. They do have. Okay, Wife Gal is the name of the skin.
Miss Freeze, Wife Gal.
Like here's.
That shit looks terrible. Yeah, Sean, have you seen gameplay for the new like Star Wars Outlaws game? That shit looks so bad.
I'm all for Pride. Like nobody's questioning that. But this has got to be one of the most like kindergartner art experiment outfits I've ever seen. Like this isn't, in no world is this fashionable or interesting. Like it literally looks like when you're in the character creator and you just do the like press X to random.
I'm gonna be honest. I look at that costume. It's the same thing somebody said about that chair. And wow, bro, I look at that costume. That's the least gay thing in all of Suicide Squad. I've seen a lot of stuff about that game. That's the least gay thing I've ever seen.
Some of the nice great parts.
That's
I
what
watch
this
it
looks
all
like.
on
The
80
character
inch
designs in the base
visual,
game were really
4K,
good.
bro,
I
that's
don't know
insane.
who they got to do these, but guys, it's what makes you think. Like, was there just honestly no feedback? Did nobody give any feedback?
Yeah, look how LED lights would be crazy.
That's what it looks like. I mean, it looks like there's just no feedback.
Yeah, LED lights would be like a fourth dimension
honest.
almost. You know?
Nobody said.
Nobody can be honest because people are afraid of if they're honest about this looking
Fourth
stupid or bad,
dimension of
they're going to get
video
painted as some
watching.
kind of a bad person. That's the reason why.
Serious? Like this is what you came up with?
Yeah.
This does a disservice to Pride. Like if you wore this to Pride, everyone would feel shame. You know, like this is unbelievably bad. I'm at a loss. Okay, so there's
People
that.
would feel ashamed.
And then like this one, like
That's
you're gonna
fucking
wear a
funny.
garbage bag with like a little red.
It's
I
like
can't zoom
almost
out.
One Punch
It's
Man.
just bad. It's just bad, dude. I don't know what to tell you. It's just freaking bad. But the idea that you would spend $10 on that.
Yeah, someone's
$10.
whoever spent $10 on that need to reevaluate their life
Like,
situation.
$10 not to have it.
You could buy a fourth of Concord for that kind of money. Like, geez, I'm at a loss. I'm already stunned. Like, this is what's honestly really entertaining
Look
about
how
this.
stupid these look. Look at the Joker, bro. The Joker looks like a what's the word for it?
Clown.
He looks like that kind of guy.
It looks so bad.
That would emotionally abuse his girlfriend.
You know, like that's the kind of dude. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, this is the Jared Leto Joker.
Though, is
Look how
that
stupid this looks? This is so fucking stupid, bro. Like,
just when you think like there's no way it gets worse, like there's no way that it gets worse, they find a way.
How they
and
make it worse.
It's genuinely impressive. Like it's genuinely impressive. I don't know how they manage, because a lot of games it's about subverting expectations, right? It's like, oh, you expected us to do this boss fight in this way. Well, we're gonna do it in this way, and there's a part 2 to the boss fight, and you're like, oh wow, you subverted my expectations and blew me away all the more. With this, it's like you expected it to be bad.
you don't know how bad it can get.
Let me show you what's up. It's just unbelievably. Oh man. Let's just actually see how she plays.
Look at what it says, bro. It says going on apocalyptic vacay in 3. I'd like to issue an apology to all of the people that aren't millennials for the damage that we've done to the culture. I'm so sorry. I had no part in this. I never wanted it to go like this. I don't know why we do this. I think it's just as bad as you do, I promise.
Let's just actually see how she plays.
Pretty cool. She looks like Frozone.
Hello.
You know?
Oh God. Okay, that's a cool ultimate. I need to do it next to them, but still. Okay. Boop, boop, boop.
Oh, man.
You gotta get back in the swing of things, fam.
Oh, man.
It's been too long. It's been too long. Or has it been long enough? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know why they decided to
like,
make
imagine playing this game instead of the first Descendant. Imagine, like, you have a choice. You could play 2 games and you decide, I'm gonna boot this up.
Just freeze, light on fire, and have a fire ability, because it literally doesn't make sense, but whatever.
This trash for real? Yeah.
What do I know? I'm just the dumbass that spent $10 to get the character.
Well, he write it off as a tax expense. It's okay. He's fine.
I just... Like, who talks this way? I get that they're, like, imaginary characters. They're supervillains, whatever. But, like, casually running around the map, and it's like, oh, yeah, we gotta remind people that this is, like, a character with a family and a wife that she loves. So let's talk about upcycling. It's just like...
What's an upcycle?
Again, do they expect us to, like, snap in agreement? I just don't get it, dude. I need to... Okay, I gotta turn my brain off. The more I try to think about what's happening to me right now, the less it makes sense, and my brain just breaks more. Like, you just can't think about it. You can't think about it, or you'll drive yourself mad.
Washing
Congratulations on the opposite of dying.
Man. It's like every single thing about this game is cringe. It's like, this is the kind of, it's like they took every loser from every high school and they put them together in the same room, and this is what they come up with. Like, every person that, like, eats lunch alone that's got no friends, that nobody wants to be around them.
I say this shit all the time.
Nah, you say every Juggalo? Nah, I tell you one thing, bro. If Juggalos made a game, that shit would go hard. It'd be like Twisted Metal mixed with, like, Dead by Daylight. Shit would go crazy. It probably wouldn't work right, but the idea would be there.
Idiots doing? Get the Flash into stasis and get back to work.
Wish you were always that fun, Flasher. We'll make a sidekick out of you yet.
Yeah, they didn't...
Man.
They didn't even, like, do cutscenes for it. They just did, like,
That's
still
smart.
shots.
They shouldn't
did
have
a
done
full-on
cutscenes.
Redfall. They redfalled it. It's just tonally, it's really weird, dude.
No,
The
it's
game
not
is
weird. You got to understand that, like, the people that make this are, like, weird loser millennials that don't have friends. And if you look at it from that angle, everything else makes perfect sense. It does. Like, everything else just like, this just really comes in and it just makes sense. Yeah. It's cheaper, too. Yeah.
That's weird. You know, like,
Weird losers.
I don't even know what to say anymore. Another episode to the season in like a month or two, and when they do that, it'll be another Brainiac reskin fight. But then nothing else. And then like another month or two after that, we'll get...
I really applaud this guy for actually investing the time into playing this game and understanding it. Like, I really, you know, it's like he taking a bullet for all of us. That's respectable.
Season 3, which is going to have another playable character. Does anyone in chat remember what the third playable character is? I have already forgotten. Oh yeah, Zoe Lawton. That's right. Miller Ross, who's done a bunch of data mining on the game, said, meet Zoe Lawton, aka Lawless. She's grown up since that photo was taken. This photo on like his locker door or whatever. She's grown up since that photo was taken, but not enough to know better. Her and her crew are smuggling in Kuluan weapons from the Metropolis invasion to steal from Gotham's elite in Robin Hood-style heists. Wealth redistribution, she'd say. Dude, it's like a meme of itself at this point. They're like, again, all of the writing is just, like, they expect you to just go, it's unbelievable. Like, again, they're supposed to be putting characters in that are like freaking badass and that you're getting super, super excited for.
Well, they are getting super excited for those things because this is the way they think. Like, they don't think the way that you think. They're weird.
And instead,
there's a
they're
perfect
doing this.
explanation. They don't think like you think. They're weird. Oh, it's funny as fuck. All right, my man. I'm going to bed. Appreciate y'all for chilling. Hope y'all have a good night. Sean, have a good night, bro. Peace.